Man, it's cold. It's getting like really cold in Spokane. It was like 29 degrees last night when I was walking around. Jumping Jesus. Just, I have a family member that's like 18 that's going into the military that just makes me roll my eyes. She seems like a sweet kid. I don't know her very well. She's my cousin's stepdaughter, but she's going into the military, and I just found this out yesterday, which just made me super cringy. Because the more wars the United States fights in, the more the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and the middle class disappears. I'm poor, so it just seems like I get poorer because the rent keeps going up and things just cost more money, and the rich just keep getting more and more billions of dollars. And it's like there's no middle class anymore. It's like some people really need to watch some Michael Moore films. Barring aside the fact that Michael Moore lives in a $4 million house and should just like take $1 million of that and like throw it to the homeless and like say, see, Ann Coulter, I'm not a hypocrite, and stop eating the fucking McDonald's all the time while bitching about corporations. Or Bill Maher having his $100 million and his $10 million a year salary. Like, why isn't he taking like a couple million of that and helping the homeless of LA? It's like he always has to like funnel his shit through foundations like all these rich, snobby liberals do. And then like Ann Coulter will complain about them being hypocrites, but she's also a hypocrite because all Republicans are hypocrites and all rich people are hypocrites. And like Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos have $100 billion, and it's like if they donated $20 billion to the homeless in the United States, it would just go away. People would be housed. So when I see people going into the military, I've listened to the liberal comedians and I've listened to the social commentators for like 30 years, ever since I was like a little kid. Maybe even before that. I don't really remember what I was listening to when I was like 5 or 10 or whatever. More like Kurt Cobain. You know, why did he hate homophobes and stuff? Like, I was learning about that when I was like 10 or 11. So that was sort of my introduction to like the idea that there was a bigger world out there and people suffered was Nirvana. Because before that I was listening to like a lot of Paul Simon and stuff. Just good music. It just, you know, it wasn't really socially conscious. So like when I see someone going into the military, I know they're Democrats. It's like they're not listening to Michael Moore. They're not listening to Bill Maher. They're not listening to Julian Assange. They're not listening to Henry Rollins. They're not listening to Jello Biafra. They're not listening to the atheist comments. They're not listening to like George Carlin. They're not listening to anybody that talks about the military in their comedy or in their social commentary or their documentaries, because the United States is the most evil, militaristic country on the planet, and I don't have enough money to escape it. It's like I have to sit here right in the hell of capitalism and deal with capitalism, buying my food at grocery stores that are fed by corporate subsidies as the poor take a little bit of taxes, and then the corporate behemoths take all this money from corporate subsidy, which comes from your taxes. So the CEOs can sock this money away and then war profiteer. So the billionaires are now multi-billionaires. And it's all because of people joining the damn military. All you're really doing is supporting the corporate interests of the oligarchy. And that's upsetting to me. Because if you're not killed, you're going to come back. and you're going to realize that war was bullshit. Just like everybody else, mostly that's gone to war that has come back, has bitched and moaned. The veterans have mostly come back and said, you know, going into the war into the military was a bad idea. Going into Afghanistan or even being stationed anywhere like my mom and stepdad were. They came back in like the 70s. They weren't deployed. My stepdad was deployed in Germany, but he didn't fight. He worked on trucks, and I think during the Vietnam War era, but not. He didn't fight in any wars. He was working on big rigs. He was a mechanic. My mom was a paralegal in the Army. And this was like in the early 70s, and my stepdad was early 60s. They're 10 years apart. So my stepdad, it would have been like during Korea, between Korea and because Korea started in 1953. So he was there between Korea and Vietnam, and my mom was there like a little before Vietnam, but she was stationed in Fort Bragg in North Carolina. My stepdad was stationed in various places. They weren't in the military for long, but they came back and they were like, fuck this shit. You know, my mom has long preached this line about how going to war is a bad idea and how we need to support the troops coming back home rather than dealing with a bunch of like brass telling them to fight these bullshit wars that we keep perpetually getting into and are never out of. It's like we used to go to war for a while to protect some sort of people. Now we just go to war to make money, and we've perpetually been at war since the early 1990s in the Middle East and everywhere else in the world because we're the world's cops. And we need to listen to what Bernie Sanders is saying about war. And so my family is not really that type of Democrat. Some of them might be, but they're more like the corporate Democrats. So they don't really understand and have listened to the things that I've listened to when it comes to war. Enlisting in the military is just a bad idea. You're just there, you're going to make the rich richer, the poor poorer, and the middle class is going to disappear because you're out there fighting for capitalism and corporate cronyism. And it has me concerned because this kid could die. And it has me concerned because this kid is perpetuating a class trader system that just only benefits the rich. So I'm moralistically opposed to it, but I can't really say anything about it directly to them.